Clark, thank you so much for taking the time here to talk to me. I know you are absolutely buried in your startup, both personally and professionally, so appreciate the time. So we'll jump right into it. And just for full disclosure to anyone watching this, I am an investor in Ranker through through Rincon Ventures. And that's not why we're doing this video. I've actually done a lot of interviews with companies I'm not an investor in. I tend to interview entrepreneurs that I think have something to add to the entrepreneurial community, and you certainly fit the bill there. Let's just start off, Clark, by describing, in very basic terms, why does the world need Ranker?
Sure. Well, thanks again, John, for having me. The world needs Ranker for a few different things, but I would say the kind of the core, value proposition, so to speak, that Ranker is trying to solve is really the question, what is the best blank, especially when the answer isn't really one item. If the answer can come from a large data set of things out there,
Right.
you can't really answer that question with a multiple choice survey or poll. And you also need a lot more sort of statistical credibility to make, interesting and meaningful answers to questions like that. It doesn't always have to be best, of course.
Right.
But to kind of summarize it, yes, Ranker sort of ranks results to important questions or topics.
Okay, thanks. If somebody goes to your site, I think they might think, wow, this is pretty straightforward. I get it. They're giving me tools to make lists that are video and image appealing, and then people are going to rank them. Wow, this looks pretty easy, and I think that's the beauty of it. From the user's perspective, it does look easy. It is easy to use, but I know that you're working on semantic web technology, and my understanding is you're probably the largest consumer site that's using that technology. So could you explain to us a little bit about what that means and how it impacts your site?
Sure. There's a lot kind of going on in a deeper engineering capacity on the semantic web, and I won't go into those kind of things because, frankly, I'm not the best person to speak to them. But in a basic sense, semantic technology is data that is linked so that you can derive more meaning, and you can you can kind of slice and dice the data in all kinds of different ways without losing the connections between items, between whatever you're doing. And so what we have done at Ranker is we leverage large data sets from Freebase, who have been doing this for a while with humongous open source data sets of items, so to speak, and also Factual we leverage data sets from. And we then sort of add our technology adds the user opinion layer to their facts, right, to items and things in their system, so that we're sort of structuring unstructured data with people's opinions. And then the reason that that the semantic data set is so important, and that we're leveraging semantic technology, is so that we can then aggregate people's individual opinions, in our case in the form of lists, into these what we call crowd rankings, which are wisdom of crowds aggregations that can be sliced and diced in all kinds of different ways, and also that really are probably more statistically meaningful than one person's opinion about a topic.
Right.
And just to kind of cap it off from an engineering point of view, there's these technologies like RDF and Sparkle, which are two technologies that work hand in hand using what's called triple stores to to keep the connections between items. Tom Cruise is an actor. Tom Cruise is married to Katie Holmes. When Tom Cruise is in your system actually knows both of those things. It's kind of hard to explain in layman's terms, but it's one of the core things that people are trying to solve on the internet. And until there's a number of people that have done consumer platforms with semantic technology, but I do think that we probably have more traffic than anything else that I've seen. I haven't done hardcore research or ranking about what sites have this, but I know that our traffic has been going through the roof, and we are powered by semantic technology at a consumer level.
Sounds like there's another list that's needed for Ranker.
There is. There's always another list on the way, John.
As soon as we're done, I'll get on that. Well, so Google has obviously killed it with index search. That's amazing what they've been doing. But there are a lot of people have been looking at what some people call vertical search, I know my friend Kevin O'Connor, who I've also interviewed on this blog, over at Find the Best, has more of a curated approach to solving the problem, which I know is different from what you're doing. If you could just sort of, in general, talk a little bit about Google, folks like Find the Best, and how crowd ranking comes into play. Is it complementary? Is it competitive? Where do you see that?
Well, I think, and first of all, I'd like to say, I've checked out Find the Best, and I think it's a pretty incredible site, and certainly also, given how early stage they are, I see where it's going, and I'm really excited by it. And they
Yeah.
are kind of taking a different approach to the same large problem. And I certainly, think that both approaches work. Some will work better for different topic sets probably than others. So basically, you've got, and to answer your other question, you've got something like Google. It can definitely work complementary with what we're doing, because if somebody is searching, best coupon websites or best coupon website deals or something like that, they really do want to get, not just necessarily one answer to their question. They want to get sort of a ranked list. And if that ranked list has hundreds of people's opinions layered into it versus one person's opinion, there's value there. So you can come to that from a Google search, but then, additionally, sites like Ranker and Find the Best, you can sort of just go direct to, and you can say, okay, I'm querying for individual people's opinions on this topic or for crowd ranked opinions on this topic, and just sort of browse whatever and filter whatever makes the most sense to your needs. It's very open ended.
Right. Well, I think it's what you're doing and what Kevin's doing is what my partner Jim Anneman calls decrapifying the web. It's he lovingly says no, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. There's the internet's a wonderful place and we love it, but there's just a lot of crap out there, and so helping people wade through without getting crap on their boots is I think an important thing. There's a lot of value there.
Yeah, and on the typical, search engine thing, obviously, people can game those results, and so you might just find best coupon website. Somebody with just a crappy little blog post with a bunch of
Right.
ads on it is trying to rank for it.
Right.
Hopefully, over time, solutions like ours and Find the Best become rank higher, as we are starting to rank quite well, and lead to just more meaningful, quick answers to questions.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the fact that we've invested in you and sort of what drove us to it. We had a long discussion with you, long dialogue. You were very patient, and you just continued to hit your milestones. So my message to any entrepreneur out there, and I'm sure it was frustrating and hard for you, but it was from an investor standpoint, it was very gratifying because you told us what you were going to do, and then you often delivered on what you were going to do. So that's sort of fundraising 101 that you got an A+ in. The thing that really threw us over the edge was talking to some of the folks that invested in you in the past, and they also invested in Ranker. And I remember one comment that stuck in my mind was, Clark will do anything to get you your money back. And that's sort of, that's really important because not everyone takes that approach to the stewardship of the money that they take in. So what advice do you have for younger entrepreneurs that are maybe the first time taking money from a venture capitalist? How would you suggest they approach that relationship?
First of all, to sort of clarify what you said, I think you're referring to some of the other investors in Ranker were also investors in my prior startup, eCrush, which we sold to Hearst
Right.
At the beginning of 2007. So that's kind of the context that they're saying it in, and I appreciate their kind words. Frankly, some of these things are just personal traits. I'm a completist. I like to make lists. I just cannot stand unfinished business, and I also I don't like to do any. I do everything that I do all in or nothing. I don't like to, start a bunch of things and not finish them. So that's kind of a personal trait, and I certainly also feel that if somebody's investing money in a lot of cases in me and in my idea,
Right.
I just simply don't want to let them down. So I don't know if that completely answered your question, but it's sort of my nature for these kind of things.
Do you have any thoughts for entrepreneurs that might be sort of on the front end of taking their first investment dollar?
Well, I'll tell you, I think kind of a good illustrative example that sort of leads to what you brought up is that I did first meet with your partner, Jim, probably 15 months before the investment round came in.
Right.
And, there was always some level of, this is interesting enough to take another look at down the line. But we were at a very early stage. I think we were actually had just launched a week before when I first, showed the site to Jim, and it wasn't anything near what it became. And I think the point is that, it's always great to be able to raise money quickly with your idea, but probably far more often than not, it's a bit of a long haul, and the relationship building with investors. Yeah, I had people in my last round who, more or less, passed when I tried to pitch them a year ago, and weren't even necessarily returning my calls just because everybody's really busy. It wasn't a personal slight or anything. And I just followed up with them again as we got close to raising, and they were like, "Yeah, wow, you've come a long way. This is great. This is what I want to see. Here you go." And it was a real easy close at that time. So I think the point of just, you know, um, showing people what you're doing at an early stage, and then showing them the results that you said you were going to do down the line is what you brought up, and is something that I wasn't even, that aware of, and I've been through this before.
Yep. Well, I have to mention Tim Draper is also among your investors, so you've certainly impressed some smart people.